like 200 people in it, and all of a sudden you like
Lily, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, it was so quiet there, I wasn't sure.
Hey, Maura. This is Ken, our chair.
Hi, Ken.
Oh, I was looking up. She's not on yet. Hi,
I'm Maura,
Hi.
the Ish County Attorney.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Right.
Been here too long. I've been through too many counties.
It's 17 East Gregory.
17 East Gregory?
Yeah.
Oops, I got it.
So my engineer's got a question on Conoco.
Yeah.
The existing ductwork above the roof is, I think, spray foam insulated. It's something sprayed on it. New codes are 12.
One of these keys
In the existing.
opens the front door.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the front door.
If you go get a mop and come back,
Are you not replacing that duct?
I'll send you up there
Okay,
to unlock that.
all right.
And
They would prefer not to replace all.
What is
It's a
it now?
financial deal.
Yeah.
It's she's talking about the outside of the thermal
Yeah,
envelope.
above it. Yeah.
If you're
You're
not,
not planning on replacing it,
yeah,
and
if you're
say,
not
don't.
replacing it,
Right.
then if you leave it as
You
is,
know, there'll
then
be
you don't
some
have to,
ductwork up there. Which
Yeah.
gonna comply.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're not replacing it, then
I,
it's like
yeah,
if you're doing a remodel of your kitchen, we don't make you redo the bath.
I mean, people get stuck on like increasing energy efficiency. In my mind, I think of like landfill waste.
I know, because
Right.
we're gonna curse it, you're gonna send it right down to
Yeah.
Broad Canyon.
Yeah. And so like, you have to factor that in.
Hmm.
Like how much of a carbon footprint is there to manufacture that pipe, insulate it? It's functional, it's fine. We're gonna make you swap it out just to save a little bit of on the gas. Like, what would you gain? So.
Are you guys all getting raises? My valuations came out.
Are we getting raises?
So,
We get a-
Holy smokes.
they're not trickling down to us.
all those. Everyone that moved out here during COVID. Blew it up. Like,
My shop building and my house, 37%.
increase.
Uh-huh. Jamie's went up $1,080,000. I just talked to one of my
How
clients,
much?
$1,080,000.
What do you mean?
Like in valuation.
His house up by the airport.
Oh. It's not surprising, dude. Have you looked around at what places you're going for?
Yeah.
are you guys talking about property taxes or property values? Because I just got my property tax and it is stupid.
I think we are waiting for Emery.
Do the agenda sound cool?
I read everything line by line.
So you're an energy code expert?
Just kidding, I did not.
Oh,
I looked at it, I didn't read it like, and
we're gonna ask these fellows a bunch of questions today.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw there, I'm not sure where it's at, so. Since 5 days ago, but there was a proposed amendment to.
Fire. Yeah, we,
Yeah.
yep,
The timeline to adopt.
we did see that.
I stumbled across that. I asked Jared about it, he explained, he gave us the rundown.
I linked the bill in here. All right, there's Emery. Okay.
Okay.
You got it, okay.
Everybody on?
Everybody is on. Can everyone hear us in Zoom land?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Can you hear Ken?
Everybody's here. You're good.
Well, let's call the meeting to order, Board of Review, Tuesday, May 6th at 2 p.m. Let's do a little roll call verbally across the screen here.
John Foote,
Frank Henson.
Emery Smith.
Lily Briggs,
Matt Gonzalez,
Ken Watt.
Maura Fahey is in the back.
and Nancy Willis is on Zoom as well.
Okay, let's move to item 2, public comment. None. Let's move to 3. Approval of minutes for January 8th, 2024.
That was our last, that was our last meeting, and we had a continuation of that meeting on the 22nd of January, which you'll see in the minutes. And then another continuation, which was canceled because it was ultimately brought to light that Telluride Fire Protection District had the final say on the fire sprinkler for the Peter Pitts appeal.
if we don't need to talk about anything, I've read the minutes and I would make a motion to approve them.
Any discussion? Or a second, I guess, then discussion. Second. I'll second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Review and discussion of the 2024 code adoption.
Okay, so. Main reason we wanted to get you guys together was, well, to touch base, we haven't done it in over a year. But also, I want to talk to you guys about kind of our tentative plans for moving to a newer code cycle, but also some state laws that have been passed, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. And then more than anything today, I want to ask you guys, in your opinion, kind of on behalf of like, the contract community at large here, what are some ways we can help you all understand what's coming, what are the best ways to communicate those things, and what are some of the things that you all want to see related to that process. And so feel free to interrupt me at any time. I'm going to take some notes here. But we're going to talk items 4, 5, and 6 are respectively the international code cycle that we'll adopt, and then the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code Board and associated code that's eventually going to be in effect and going to be required to be adopted. And then the um, Colorado Model of Energy and Carbon Code that again will be required to be implemented and adopted. So, first of all, generally, I had originally planned to move to the 2024 International Code Cycle by this fall. I feel like at this point, Ben Chase, our inspector, if you guys didn't know, he took a job at Winter Park, which is unfortunate because he was a good guy and super competent. But wish him the best. But so I'll be doing inspections until we can find someone else. We haven't posted the job yet. And so we'll see, what we can get as far as a quality inspector or the right person that we can train for the role. In the meantime, I'll be out in the field a lot. Lily has some news. Yeah, she's gonna be out.
Yeah, I'll be on maternity leave from
Yay.
June to October. So that's one less person in the office.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which is awesome. We're happy for Lily.
And then we have a new permit tech
Yeah.
starting on Monday. So there will be someone in the office, but they'll be newer and yeah,
So
a lot going on.
yeah, so kind of with that, and looking at the writing on the wall, I suspect we'll probably push the code adoption to like early next year, first quarter. I haven't really formally made that announcement yet, but there's a lot to do, and more than anything, with all these things, I want to make sure, it's always hard, but I want to make sure that you all are aware of what's coming down the pike, and also that you have time to turn around and inform your architects, your clients, about all these things because they do have an effect on your timelines and your bottom line. So anyway, in order to adopt the code, right? We statutorily at the county level, we consult with you as the board of review, get your kind of input. We have to present the code amendments to the planning commission and for their recommendation to the board, which is kind of a frivolous step, but it's in the statutes anyway. And then ultimately there's one formal meeting presentation of the recitals and the resolution and the amendments to the Board of County Commissioners, and they, vote to incorporate it, and then it goes into effect. And just one of the things that I've thought, again, I know when we did this last time, we went from the 2009 code cycle to 2018. The HERS score and the requirement for when the HERS is required and then the score itself changed pretty significantly. And so with that, we wrote in like a separate, to be an effect date. I think the resolution was approved like mid 2022, and we gave about a 6-month buffer for the new HERS score to kick in. So that's the first thing I want to know is like if we sometime around the new year or first quarter adopt a new code cycle, so that realistically, I mean, from today it's anywhere from 6 to 9 months away. A lot of the projects you guys are working on are already under design, right? So what would you guys recommend as far as and if you don't have an answer today, that's fine. But I'm gonna make a note of this question. And if you guys have an answer or some sort of feeling, great, share it. If not, I'd ask you guys to follow up with me via email later on. And I'll send a little summary of these out to you guys after the fact too. But what you guys have probably gone through this process more often than I have. So what do you guys think as far as if we start the process now, start working on amendments, and we have some degree of contractor community awareness and input, what would you all recommend as far as like from a commissioner approve the resolution date to an implementation date or a go live date? What seems fair to you guys?
6 months is fair, I think.
6 months,
6
Ken?
months.
So like
Those two would run parallel to each other, so you could go either way. on submission. But you can always revert back to the old code. That would probably give, because people are gonna know about it ahead of time.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
So
What's,
just,
Matt, are you trying to adopt the energy code in 6 months? Is that effectively what will happen here?
Not till next year.
ye-
Yeah, which.
well, yeah, so the energy. So, there's different kind of energy codes I want to distinguish. So like there's the International Residential Code, which has its own Chapter 11 Energy Code section. That language is also found in the International Energy Conservation Code book that we will also adopt. So the Residential Energy Code is found in Chapter 11 of the IRC and also in the residential section of the IECC. So we plan on adopting the 2024 version of those codes. We've read through them with like at a high level, and this is my personal opinion, the 2021 energy code was atrocious. Like it bumps up like ceiling insulation to R60 in our climate zone. Well, the 2024 energy code brings it back down to R49. I don't know why in the hell they did that. Excuse my language. But I mean, people probably lost their minds over it. And so, but anyway, kind of the way I understand it, the 2024 energy code cycle as published by the International Code Council is a little more practical. There's also more pathways to compliance prescriptively. So it gets a little more choose your adventure in the residential world. But yes, Emery. So we're going to skip entirely the 2021 code cycle, the ICC code cycle, and we're going to adopt the 2024 codes, the same code books we have now. So that's the International Building Code, the Residential Code, Energy Code, Mechanical Code, Fuel Gas Code, and the Pool Code, which we never use, and the existing Building Code. Separate from that, and we'll get into this in a second, but we're now under some timelines by state law to adopt some separately written state code. One of those state codes has some energy code implications. So it's a little muddy. Eco Action Partners has tried to like do some contractor engagement. I think you all have received some emails recently about some different training opportunities or workshops or whatever.
Yeah, it's tomorrow and the following day through them.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I would recommend you all attend those because here's what I found. We've gone to a couple of them and there's a handful of like contractors that go. And I know you all are busy, but if you're not there, if you don't get the opportunity to raise your hand and be like, wait, what in the hell does all this mean? Then we're gonna have to move forward with these codes by law, right? Soon. And we're all gonna be kind of like looking at each other and like where this is coming from. So now is a great time to take advantage of these opportunities. So I know
So what is the requirement for the state when you have to, I mean, I'm against these energy codes. Let's come out and say it. I think that's a farce. I don't think the science is there yet. And then that's why, Matt, I saw you and Lars was doing his training session a couple weeks ago. I would say just from I don't need to know anything about it. I would say as long as you can delay it, I would delay it. And that's where my vote would lie is as long as it's allowed by the state for you to delay it as much time as you can give to implement it, I think it should be done. I don't think it's there. I think there's a lot of lobbying going on right now that's going to be changed after the fact.
okay.
So with these new energy codes that the
Mhm.
state is pushing,
Yeah, and just to distinguish in conversation, let's call let's use like the word IECC for like the International Code Council's energy code, and let's call it the model energy code. That's what we're gonna call it for the state to distinguish. Anyway, go ahead.
so between those two,
Yeah.
we've come a long way since nothing to 21 to now, right? Let's talk about the hearse.
Okay.
Is it still needed in this county?
I mean, well, that's a great question. And I'll look into that. I know, historically, I think my opinion is it's been functional because historically there's not been as much versatility in the prescriptive path to compliance for energy code. So someone would be like, great, R21 on the walls, I'm good. It's like, hey, you have 6 inches of wall in 30 feet and the rest is glass, right? So having some performance design in those scenarios, I think is helpful. I think it does promote a more energy resilient, energy efficient home. Um, with the new kind of direction that the 2024 code's going with increased flexibility within the prescriptive realm, that's a great question and something I'm happy to look at and kind of provide a little more insight.
So I'm kind of in Emery's court on the
Mhm.
HERS. It's a farce. I mean, well, let's just spray some more foam. We'll get over the hurdle. Put solar panels on. We'll get over the hurdle, right? You know, there's
Sure.
ways to get over the hurdle with money.
Well, and
So-
and so to clarify, um, I mean behind Ken's head here, we have a couple of posters um, that are reflective of the Board of County Commissioners' goals and kind of missions. And the top one has the top poster has 4 sections, and the top right one is environment. So my direction from my bosses is to promote energy efficiency and reduce carbon consumption in San Miguel County. So I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of the things you guys say, but just know that while I am here to ask you guys, like, yes, send me all of your ideas and your opinions because it's ammunition I can take, and the commissioners do listen, right? And we know that some of the things in energy code are a little frivolous. Some of the things do make an impact. So but I'm telling you, like, I'm gonna have to do some things, right? Like I'm asked to engage um, well, like right now we got there's a with the energy code, the model energy code from the state, there was some funding associated. So we hopped on board with this cohort group and we've contracted with as a cohort, we've contracted with a consultant on the Front Range. And the good news is that was free money from the state. The not so great news is those meetings have not been super productive. But I guess I mean, Emery, I'll ask you, do you have some like technical resources that you've read about? I know, and I mean this with like nothing but respect for you. I know you're a sharp dude and you do a lot of homework, but if you can give me some like technical kind of support for like, you know,
Well, I guess I'm looking at this 196 pages of the Colorado, and you have to be a scientist to understand this. And I like there's so many charts and figures, like who know, I don't even know what the actual changes are, but what I can say is history. You know, you look at I've been building a mountain village for 18 years. We used to not be able to have any electric heaters whatsoever. So somehow the science changed, and now where we are having electric heaters, and now in Crested Butte they're going, well, we want all electric heaters. So I just think that the you're chasing your tail a little bit without the real fundamentals and somebody actually saying, oh, this is actually saves carbon footprint or this does that. I think what I've seen overall in this quick scroll through is that it's going to take an engineer to figure it all out. And where again, 6 months to implement something where it really could affect your MEP systems. to me is not quite enough for, design process for a house up here in the village. Granted, I don't work in the county much, but it's the same. You're a year and a half in a design process until you're actually ready to put something in the ground. So I think this energy code, and I know it's been changed. I'm not sure what it's in this Colorado additional addendums, but I just think it's all too fast. And I do understand, Matt, that you are being held by the state. As soon, if you adopt any new codes, you have to adopt this. I understand that. And as my 2 cents is, as much as it could be slow played, I think is both fair and probably prudent. Because maybe in 2 years from now, some of these things are going to get nullified.
Okay.
Well, let's phrase that a little differently. So Emery, I was thinking if the commissioners, if we got to the point where the commissioners could approve the 2024 code in this next spring, an extra 6 months on the tail end of that, which puts you towards the end of the year. Is that enough time, or are you thinking it's more a 2-year timeline? Because I'm trying to get something Matt to work with here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if I understand, Matt, if you adopt anything 2024, you have to adopt this Colorado energy, correct?
yeah, so and I'm trying to pull up the date. I should have had it ready. I apologize, but I think July 1st is the magical date. Right now we're good. We're in compliance with the law because we have the 2018 code adopted. But yeah, if we do a code resolution now, even now, like even if we did it now before July 1st, we would be bound to adopt the 2021 energy code. That's why the Town of Mountain Village, they're right now as it is, they're in the 2018 code cycle, but they have adopted the 2021 energy code because they wanted to make a couple of changes to their code. And so they had to adopt the 2021. I don't want to adopt the 2021 code because it's a mess. And the energy code, the ICC energy code in my mind is a mess. So I want to skip that entirely. But I hear you guys saying, like maybe slow play it a little, and kind of see where things land. Um, I will say, obviously, like what, so say we do a code, adopt new codes by resolution, and it's signed by the county commissioners, let's say February or March of next year. Okay. And then it has a 6 month, like, from that date it's signed, it'll go into effect 6 months from then. We're looking at like September of next year-ish, August, September of next year. That would mean that you would have like from kind of now-ish, knowing that this is on the horizon until the end of next summer, basically, to tell your designers and your clients, like, hey, get your projects to a point where we can at least submit for a building permit or a development permit. And then you're locked in on that, the 2018 code cycle. Obviously, there would be some revisions, like there are normally. There might be even a few more because you're kind of under the gun and get a, make Lily's life a little harder with a trashy set. But, that I guess it's not going to be like go live and boom, we're done and
Once
and
the
you guys
commissioners
approve,
sign.
right? It's like we want, and that's why I'm asking you guys, like, knowing that these projects are complex that you're working on, and there's some being designed right now, you might have already been a year into them, and you're not going to have a construction set for another 2 years, maybe. So, like, just kind of off the cuff right now. So, is that something that would be doable for you, or do you guys have some projects that would absolutely kill, or do you think people around, thinking of the other contractors that aren't here today, theoretically, if we start some outreach now and letting people know that, hey, this is looming, we're gonna shoot for the code resolution sometime first quarter next year and have it go into effect about 6 months after. Is that fair, or is that still too fast? And I know the concerns, like construction is not gonna get any cheaper, right? It's not gonna get any easier. But what I don't want to do, I want to avoid, if possible, killing projects because 80% of the design's done and then a code change you know, kills the project because you were unable to design a home with a HERS of 55, right? Or something like that. Does that make sense? So if we think about actually applying for permits for the 2024 code cycle and other codes associated by like the end of next summer, skip this summer, next summer. Is that reasonable or is that still too fast? What do you guys think?
I think it's reasonable. Um, yeah, I mean, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen sooner or later. I think that is a reasonable timeline, especially if people know about it before it even gets adopted. Um,
Okay.
that's my 2 cents.
Does anyone else have any thoughts or anything like that want to share? Because I have another kind of subsequent question to that, but
Well, I was waiting for Emery to find an engineer to analyze all this and find out who the lobbyists are that put the money in to make this happen.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed or not that the 2021, no, sorry, the 2024 International Code Council cycle, the residential code was delayed. Its release was delayed. And then they finally released it without Chapter 11, the Energy Code chapter, because it was the oil and gas companies were throwing fits and kind of like, I don't know if it was litigation, but it was certainly, there's some things that they had some issues with the code as it was written. So, but that all got worked out, I guess.
Matt, and not to jump ahead, but what's the timeline for the state model low energy? When does that have to be adopted?
Um, so, so I'm reading from the state's page. So the model electric ready and solar ready code. Said, I'll just read what it says. Emery, don't throw tomatoes at me. This is what the state says, okay? It says that this code prepares new homes and buildings for electric vehicles, rooftop solar, and high efficiency electric appliances. Cities and counties with building codes must adopt the 2021 IECC along with the model electric ready and solar ready code when adopting or updating any building code between July of 2023 and June of 2026. So we're in that time frame where, like you said, Emery, if we do any code resolution at all, we have to at least go to we can skip to 2021, we can go to 2024, but we have to do at least a 2021 energy code. So theoretically, I guess to answer your question, we're good with the energy code through like June 30th of 2026. We're in compliance with state law as is right now. There's a wildfire code though that we haven't talked about much yet, which has its own kind of timeline and some questions still around that. But so okay, so I'm hearing kind of generally that slow and steady wins the race. Okay.
Yeah, especially for those people that are in process right now.
Okay. So let's shift to the wildfire resilient construction code just a little bit. And then I want to ask you guys what you think like functional outreach looks like and functional dialogue with the community looks like. I know it's a hard thing, but we'll come back to that. So Ken, I'm gonna bump us along if it's okay with you to kind of item 5.
Yeah.
So the what is it actually called? I call it something else every time.
Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code.
Excellent. Thank you, Lily.
You're welcome.
So, everyone's freaked out about wildfire. I'm sure you guys have heard the stories about people losing their homeowners insurance and things like that. And Ken, you were telling me a story out that deck you guys are doing out at Brown Ranch that your builder's risk insurance is tough because of similar circumstances. So, I don't know if this is the answer or not, but this is certainly in response to all that. Plus, like the Marshall fire and Louisville and all that stuff up in near Boulder where all that happened. People are really concerned about wildfire, which is, fine. So, um, kind of from a mechanism standpoint, this this law looks a lot like the energy code as far as when the law passed, it required the creation of a board, and that board had a couple of tasks. One was to define the WUI via a map, and then to create like a model code, like so there's wildfire resiliency code. So, have any of you guys worked in Uray County? No. So, this code very generally, it's not a parcel by parcel. There's the state map, which you can look at that they've released, has some they're hexagons, and it puts the entire state in basically three different kind of like risk categories: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zones 2 and 3 being the higher risk. So a very substantial portion of our county is in zone 2 or 3. And this code had some super aggressive timelines built into this law had some super aggressive timelines. So this code board's been under the gun. And as it is, Thursday, there's going to be a work session in Montrose. Again, if you guys have the time, it would be super beneficial for you to go. Lily and I are going to go.
Yeah, 3 to 5 at
Wh-
the college. I'll send everybody
We should
Meeting
probably send
information.
that to the whole our
yeah.
like our list,
Yeah.
even though we get half those emails bounced back to us. But anyway, so effectively, it's going to have some code requirements, and we've had discussions here internally, like who's going to do what. But it's not that crazy. I don't think. I don't know. Did you guys have time to read through it? It's a lot smaller than the energy code document. But effectively, if you're in zone 2 or 3, you have to do things like well. Your decks and accessory structures have to be protected, kind of similar to what we've kind of tried to do here historically. Um, there's some requirements for like hardening the property as far, having kind of from 0 to 5 feet of the building cleared of any debris or certain types of vegetation and so on and so forth. So there's some questions like there's a lot of questions still surrounding this code as far as, well, what does this mean? Or, how are we gonna do compliance checks going forward, right? You get your CO and then what? And there are some references to like um compliances, subsequent compliance inspections. I don't know how those are gonna work. Um there's a bill on this is how you say it, on the floor right now that kind of extends the timeline on this effectively.
Yeah.
It also rearranges how the board is put together. But so there's a lot of communities that are really concerned about this and how they're going to enforce it. I think a lot of it has to do with people don't like to be told what to do with their own private property, frankly. But so yeah, so we have there's really kind of there's 5 chapters in this code. The first chapter is just about scope and administration and what we need to do. This is a building department. There's a definitions chapter. Then there's chapter 3 that talks about basically how things are categorized within the WUI as far as their hazard zones. And then chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4 is how to harden the structure from fire, and chapter 5 is how to prepare the site against fire. So that right now as it is, we'll see what happens. This bill probably, the bill that's on the floor right now will probably pass to extend the date for like adoption. But as it is right now, we're supposed to have this incorporated by the new year. So by July of this year, they have by July 1st, they have to have these rules finalized and approved. And then we are on the clock then up until the new year to have them adopted as a part of our jurisdictional code. So that's kind of why I was shooting originally for like fall, late fall, so we can be ready for this. But it might be where we get everything ready and I don't think anyone's gonna come knock on our door on February 1st if we don't have this adopted, but I don't want to be out of compliance for too long. So I don't know how they're gonna enforce, I'm sure there's gonna be a handful of jurisdictions that are just gonna, write them off, write the state off, and I don't know how they're gonna handle that. Do you have any idea more how that works?
I am not sure. Sure, the state could take some like various hammers down on local jurisdictions if they don't adopt. I mean,
It's like the accessibility thing, right? There's like a state law where we have to, our websites and stuff have to be accessible for people, and we're good there, but there's some counties around the state that are like, like the clock's up and they're still not in compliance. So I don't know if do they like take funding away or do they file lawsuits or do you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay, fine.
So does the state allow local modification of this?
You
Yes,
can
but
make
you
it
can-
harder to
yeah.
comply with. You can't make it easier to comply
Yeah.
with. We can provide our own maps.
All right, so that brings up another part. So you're talking about this wildland interface map that
Yep.
the county has, right? So, the problem I have with that, it's not site specific. So you could live at the airport,
Mhm.
has the same rating as somebody
Across the way.
across in Mountain Village in the forest.
Mhm.
That's not right.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem with this system. And the other question I have is this the same map that the insurance companies are using? So is there an advantage? Because when we had a tough builder's risk policy we were trying to do, and that's rated on 0 to 100. And it's some underwriter kid out of Florida probably mapping this. And if you're above 60, you're basically non-insurable. And it was a 91 is what it came in at.
Mhm.
But so that's a different formula than what this map is. So what
So
is there an advantage to this to help us get insurance?
that's
Are
a
you going
great,
to keep insurance?
that's a great question. I will ask that question tomorrow or Thursday.
Mhm.
I haven't heard it come up. I'm sure it's on people's minds. It would be great, right? I mean, that would be functional code, I would say. Right? But I do know that on the board, the code board that was established had to be established by law.
They're supposed
There
to
had to be an
different.
insurance representative on the board. So hopefully that person's been listened to. The board is like a mix of rural and city code officials, fire officials, a couple county managers or something like that, I think. Originally they had some like building materials folks. They had who else? The building materials
Yeah.
folks are on the built on the floor. They're trying to get the building materials folks out of there as well as the affordable housing folks,
Mhm.
probably because they're like, well, the affordable housing folks probably don't want any code because it blows up their budget. And then the building materials guys are probably trying to peddle their hardy products and stuff. So anyway, I will say though, we also the bill on the floor also modifies the language around the map. It would kind of give us a little bit more time to kind of come up with our own map and provide it to the state. We can, so yes, to answer your question, we can kind of independently define our own WUI zones. We had a discussion the other day with our community wildfire protection plan folks, so Shannon Armstrong, about kind of that same deal. Like we talked a lot about the map. A lot of that stuff's kind of over my head as far as how they create it, but one of the provisions that is in here is that it has language for like ground truthing. So if whatever map we come up with, whether we use the state's map to start or if we come up with our own maps, and someone's like, well, that's bologna sausage. I don't think I'm in a zone 2 or 3. Then it's kind of like with anything, you could say, I'm going to consult with like the West Region Wildfire Council, or I have these documents that some consultant came out and did an assessment. And as long as in effectively my opinion, the report that you had done makes sense and it was done by a competent, qualified person, then it's like, yeah, great, cool. We file that with everything else and we say you're not in a high risk category and you're subject to a lesser, the requirements wouldn't be as stringent for you.
So are there provisions in this? Let's say you want to do a exterior fire protection system with a foam system or something.
Okay.
Is that in here? And would that allow you to use a product that's not, is it 1 hour or Class A? What do they call them?
Class A.
Class A?
Oh, are you talking like a automatic fire suppression system?
Exterior.
I didn't see that in here. But
Could you write that in?
Well, probably. I feel like it's in here. There's like sprinkled throughout the code, like you need to install this or something else approved in italics. Well, if you look up the word approved, any word that's in the code that's in italics has an associated definition in chapter 2. Any code book you pick up. The word approved in italics means you gave me something that convinced me. I approve it. I approve. It's approved by the building official. And so I think there's enough language in here to prove things like that, where again, the intent is to make sure that we're doing our best to provide a resilient, efficient, and safe, mostly safe structure to the occupants, right? And so if it's a mechanism that provides that, even if it's not explicitly written here, but it's something that I can approve and it's got a good design and it checks out, yeah, things like that. But we can we can always amend our code to say things like, wherever there's a conflict or what do they say? If two codes are looking at each other and kind of conflicting, or
The more.
yeah, the
The more.
what you do,
stringent of
yeah,
the
the
two
word that you
holds.
use is the more stringent of the two shall prevail or shall be used or whatever. So if that's I'll take a look at it though with that kind of lens and see, but as I've read it, like, yeah, there are provisions for like other approved systems,
Mhm.
right? So if you have a system that's like an NFPA rated deal and it's installed by a professional and everything else and tested as it should be tested according to some standard, then yeah, we would allow things like that. So
And Lily confirmed with me, we talked about this before, an outbuilding,
Mhm.
let's say it's ag,
Okay.
non-habitable,
Mhm.
does it have to comply?
I'm going through it right now. It does have a section for accessory structures.
they were trying to add some language too with ag building.
Pull it up.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have to comply. The
Why?
level of, so
Why
detached
does it have to
accessory.
comply?
Detached accessory structures located less than 50 feet from a building containing habitable or occupiable space shall have exterior walls constructed in accordance with section 404.5 through 404.5.2. So, yeah, per this, it's saying it has to comply with those two sections. If it's less than 50 feet away, though, if it's more than 50 feet away, which there are land use code things that require a certain distance, but I don't think it's
Depending
50
on-
feet. I think it's
so-
300 feet, but
Yeah, so we classify accessory buildings in a few different ways. Like there's but by state law, right? There's agricultural structures, which are for livestock, poultry, not horses. You can store ag implements in there and
Mhm.
feed. That's about it. We've further amended to say you can't have any. People get really fancy with those things, right? And then they're like, "Oh, we got outlets because we got to plug in our whatever." It's like, come on, man. So we don't allow any electric or plumbing in those buildings. It's like we all grew up with ag structures, right? It's like, why did your granddad need an outlet in his hay barn? He didn't. That's why there's no outlets in there. So, anyway, but yeah, so if it's like more than 50 feet away and it's an ag building,
then no, it doesn't have
then
to.
no, it doesn't have to comply with. There's a
Or
list of
any
exemptions.
accessory structure more
Yeah.
than 50 feet wouldn't have to, even if
Between-
it had a detached garage more than 50 feet away would not have to comply.
Yeah. So it'd have to be. Yeah.
So then, what do you do about these HOAs and their design requirements? How are you gonna get them on board to these products?
God, where did I see HOA stuff? I mean,
What is their their requirement by the state law? Do they have any,
HOAs.
should they, an HOA to follow? State code question. Yeah, yeah, I'm curious, cause they might just have to require, or.
Yeah, they might have to amend their covenants or bylaws or whatever. I don't know. I'm just speculating, so don't take that to the bank or anything, but
Yeah, it'd be hard to believe if an HOA had something that would go against something in the state code that they would be allowed to uphold that. But I don't know.
we'll see. No, I'll ask that question too. Or look for the answer.
On Thursday, we can ask.
So anyway, as it is, again, for the wildfire code, as it is right now today, that code board has the impossible task to develop a code that everybody feels comfortable with that can be approved by July 1st. And it has to be adopted by jurisdictions no later than January 1st of 2026. There's a bill on the floor that may amend and change those a little bit, and I'll keep you guys updated. But so that's kind of where we are, like generally. So the IECC, the state's model energy code, and the state's I keep calling it the energy code. It's the model electric ready and low carbon code, and then the state's wildfire resiliency code. Now, when it comes to like public engagement for you guys, like for you guys and for architects, or you're the audience I want to capture, right? Because general contractors and architects and engineers, but mostly architects, you all are the ones that drive design and execute the design. You handle permits and the administration of the permits and building inspections, and you deal with us a lot more than anyone else. And so, and if you guys don't have answers right now, it's fine. I would like to assign you the homework question though, like what would be functional for you guys to like, what works for you? Do emails work? Do having training events work? Should San Diego County have some sort of contractor registration requirement so that we can kind of keep you guys on the hook for like some very loose and easy degree of continuing education, right? Because I'll say this, I know everyone gets busy, and a lot of times if we don't have to do something, we're not going to because we're already kind of loaded up. But from our perspective, you know, whether it's closing our office because we're all going to be in Loveland for a code training, or What else has happened? You know, there's been a handful of times where we've tried to communicate things at large, or the inspection area.
Yeah.
Lily's put all over our freaking website, like, uh, inspection areas are Tuesday, Thursday, we're out there, Monday, Wednesday, we're here, and people still they don't read that, right? And so, we want to make sure that you all have information to kind of, we could send like maybe some, quick update emails, whatever. What works for you guys? Do you have any ideas? What have you guys found? What have you found from building departments, if anything, that's been functional by way of communication?
Email works for me. I read those.
Yeah, emails for sure. And also whenever I have trouble with the portal, I just call Lily. So, and then she takes care of it. So that
We
works
have
really well.
summer.
Sorry, buddy.
But no, I think that's a good interface, and I think it's pretty clear. It's like you say, and a lot of us are really busy and drink too much coffee. But if you take the time to actually read what's on the page that you're trying to manipulate, you can figure it out. So I don't have any problem with that. But I agree with Frank. I think email's a good way to go. And just unencumbered emails, right? Just something that's short and to the point and has what we need to know.
And a lot of you were at the Mountain Village event, or like larger events like that, classes helpful? Did you find that helpful in understanding the code coming up? I know that was specific for non-residential buildings, but even, further than just getting out little tidbits of information.
Probably, I mean. God, when I first started, code books this thick, right? Now we got two of them that are this thick. And now we have these multiple items upcoming. You're understaffed. We're all understaffed. We got too much on our plate.
Right.
How are we all going to keep track of this?
I know.
I mean,
Well, I mean-
architects are not helping us out. They're not going to get all this put on a set of plans. It's just not going to happen. So does the liability fall back to us? And then I'll say, well, Lily, you didn't catch it on that page, right? Well, she's not going to catch everything. So
Right.
it's just, this is tough.
It is.
This is tough.
It is, and it's already in the boilerplate that it's not the county's fault.
I think an event wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we all blow over emails, we'll get to it later, and then we never
Right.
come back
But
around.
having like a
And
dedicated.
somebody's gonna say, well, I didn't get the email,
Mhm, right,
so I didn't know.
right.
I'll use that excuse a lot, probably.
Well, and unfortunately, like
Works.
email list systems and the way, if you have a Google email now, they are all getting pushed to like your promotions or your spam or whatever without even us knowing. So sometimes that's a hard function, but yeah, something that might be dedicated where I'm going to come sit for 2 hours or 3 hours. Lunch will be there.
Something other than pizza.
Yeah, something other than pizza in
Well,
this
we're
town.
gonna do it.
And honestly, multiple events of
Yeah,
doing the same
yeah.
thing.
Actually, there is a group of people in the Denver Front Range area, and maybe it's in other states too. It's like beer and building science,
Mhm.
where they meet quarterly or monthly at like a brewery or something. And while it's not like they often have a speaker or something. It's a little bit more informal, but not a terrible idea to start implementing those sorts of things, knowing that we have less than 18 months before this will probably be in code or in resolution.
There's a deal in Glenwood in the fall.
Yes, in September.
We'll email that out.
Yep.
to you.
And the other part you have to remember, like Emery, he's got multiple guys working for him.
Mhm.
So, you email it to Emery. How is it gonna flow down to
Right.
his guys that are out in the field putting
Yeah,
this
the
together?
GCs
right?
or the
That
yep,
might be a better idea.
yep.
So the reason so many people went to the Mountain Village thing a few weeks ago is because they got y'all on the hook, right?
Mhm.
They had me on the hook. you can't pull permits unless your registration up there is active or whatever, and you do your CEUs. So while that's dirty a little bit and annoying in a way, it also does, it can, when it's executed well, kind of help provide a little bit of accountability, right? If the excuse is, well, I didn't know about that. It's like, well, if you can't read an email and digest it, maybe we don't want you doing business in our jurisdiction, right? That's kind of it's like, let's be professional, right? Let's stay, keep things professional and keep a calendar. That's contracting 101, right? So, no, I don't particularly like those ICC tests are a joke. I've taken about 100 of them, and it's like if you can use an index and a table of contents, you can find the answer. It doesn't mean you know shit about code. But this is a big topic too, and I don't really want to get into it too much. But we also have people that do some crazy things that pull permits and they screw clients over or they don't finish projects or whatever else. And I don't even know how we would handle that. But what I'm getting at is what do you guys think about some sort of like entry level contractor registration or certification in a way? Is that something that you guys think there's value in, or do you guys think it's a bunch of hocus pocus? It's tough because you all are professionals, right? So you don't need it.
Right.
We don't have problems with you all and the other good builders, right? You're responsible, but when it comes to like ensuring and trying to keep a group kind of trained and on the same page and keep contact with them and stuff like that, I can see the benefits of it. What do you guys think? If we did something like that, would it be the final straw, or would it just be another thing you do? Like, I mean, is it functional like what they do at the Mountain Village? I don't think it is, frankly.
Yeah, I've never tried to take the contractor tests in Mountain Village. I'm sure most of you guys have. So I don't know what to comment about that. It seems like a good idea in theory to have some basic contact with people in an official capacity like that. But like to get my town of Telluride business license, I just, what is it, $50 or something? I work in the county mostly, so far I haven't been encumbered by any of these things. I mean, it seems like a good idea in principle. The devil's always in the details, right? Because the Mountain Village thing, it seems like, oh well, my contractor passed the test. You guys can speak to how relevant that is. I don't know. So there's a partially
I can
long
speak.
way. I don't know.
I can speak to the Mountain Village. I think that it keeps a lot of the riffraff out. A lot of these fly by the seat of their pants Montrose contractors specifically, not to pick on Montrose, but that's the truth.
Mm.
And it has, Mountain Village, you have A, B, and C license. A is strictly commercial, anything over 4 stories. B is kind of what seems everybody gets to get, or B is what everybody seems to get, and then C is like just kind of more handyman type. And I do think and I'd be curious to know what Lars thinks of it. I do think it is productive, and if anything, it behooves all of us who do it correctly and right, to weed out people that are just going to do it wrong and undercut and create more issues in the long run. I don't know if it needs to be as what all the stages need to be, whether it be A, B, C for the county, um, or be reciprocity between Mountain Village to the county, which I would personally hope for. Um, but I do think there is something good to be had in that process.
I have a tendency to agree with you, Emery, in that because I do commercial work, and um, I see people going, "Oh, well, I'll just bring in my buddy," or you get an out of town owner at the Peaks, which is rated as a commercial property, and they want to bring in a handyman, and the commercial elements require some different knowledge uh and with your trades also. So it does riffraff maybe might be an extreme, but there's a lot of people who just go, oh, I'll bring in my handyman to do this, and the reason they don't want that is because those people aren't understanding, they're not as knowledgeable a lot of times as what you need to be to follow those codes or understand the difference in why you're doing things differently. But even on the residential side, um, you get an out of town owner that comes in, brings somebody in, they don't understand our energy codes. And if we're implementing or adopting these codes, wildfire, energy, so on and so forth, and you come from, you're bringing somebody in from Florida or Texas or somewhere else, they're not up to speed, and you have problems. And then a lot of times somebody local gets brought in midway to have to deal with those things. So if you're going to do a reputable job, I don't know that it's asking you to go an extra yard to get licensed. You ought to already know that, have that knowledge in the first place. So that's my thought.
You know, along with those two comments, I would also see, you know, the Mountain Village, they require us, our GL policy, to name them as additional insured, which the county has never done. For some reason. But you know, if I'm building something and, you know, I don't know, I affect the neighbor's property, or something falls off and hurts them, then I'm gonna get sued, and they may come after you, say, well, you know, you should have been watching out for this, right? So there is some exposure probably for you guys.
Totally.
Cool. Okay.
In Matt, I want to go a step further. The Mountain Village put on that code 2024 code review event 2 weeks ago, and I think that's a beneficial thing. It's a shame that we have 3 building departments, first of all, in such a small area, but I think that's beneficial to the contractors and the architects and maybe engineers too, to have those group meetings where people can take advantage of updates on the codes and the issues. And it's an easy way to communicate to the building community as a whole what's new and upcoming and what the feeling of the building departments are. I don't feel coerced in any way to go to those things to keep up my license, but I think there ought to be more of that. In like with these items we're discussing today, between code adoption, energy code adoption, and wildfire, you could break that into quarterly events to invite everybody in and have them, if you have somebody that can present it and do a PowerPoint or take us through it like they did up in the Mountain Village. I see a benefit to that, and people can choose on their own whether they want to attend it or not. But I think it's a good opportunity for the building community.
Cool. We'll have a party at Ken's house.
Sarah and Sheila.
Yeah,
That's all they're all
BYO stuff. Okay, so we've talked about the kind of the 3 components of the code. There's the international code, the wildfire code, the state's model, low carbon code, and all that stuff. And I think I've heard you guys say that engagement via email works, but I was kind of surprised. I didn't really plan on talking about the contractor registration stuff, but I'm glad to hear that you all would like some more education or chances to collaborate and talk about these types of things. And I agree too. I kind of feel sometimes I'm like, is anyone even out there? Like, You know, I bump into you all individually every now and then or talk to you on the phone. But like in my mind, you know, there's a group of you all out there that, you know, I kind of see as like this like peer group, right? And it would be nice to have a little more like interaction with you all on a more regular basis about just kind of checking in every now and then, even, you know, like, hey, because I think, you know, we can go from code cycle to code cycle, but what I want to hear are your experiences with the implementation of the codes or design issues that you're seeing, or when you're developing sites, like and it's a mess. I mean, I talked with you guys about your Conoco project, right? We're talking with the town of Telluride sewer folks and then the HOA. It's just it's tough, right? And so the more kind of constant kind of touch points we have, I think the better it keeps me informed, Lily, and you can hear our perspective, and but more importantly, we can hear your all's just perspective and those types of things. So um I mean, so again, and then the other thing I heard too was I think I didn't hear anyone vote for like moving to a new code cycle next month, right? Like generally the later we do that, the better, right? Is kind of what I've heard. So
Yeah, and
um
especially if people know it's coming and saying, look, this is coming, but it's not coming for a while, you know, so get your stuff together, architects, designers, because it is on the horizon, but the horizon is far away. I mean, I think that's the most useful. If it's inevitable, let's give people plenty of warning. So, yeah.
okay. Um that's kind of what I wanted to give from you guys. Are there any, let's see, we talked I'm gonna ask some questions about the wildfire code on Thursday
Mhm.
to that board. Um Now, so between now and like the beginning of, you know, the first quarter, whatever, uh, the end date when whenever the day is, we're in front of the Board of County Commissioners and we're presenting all this stuff for adoption. Um, the Board of Review, and I appreciate you guys' time, and you'll get your checks in the mail hopefully soon. What, what do you all as a group, you as a Board of Review, do you want me to do anything? Do you want to have another meeting? Do you want to digest some things and get together again? Or do you think it would be more functional to just have like general contractor, designer, um, you know, information events? What do you guys think? We don't really I lean on you guys to kind of give me your ideas and share kind of what you think works and what doesn't work, what you want, and then kind of speak on behalf of other people. I want to make sure that people have an opportunity to talk to with as it pertains to like the code resolution. While your guys' input is invaluable, there is not an actual like statutory step that you guys have to execute. So I'm saying that because we don't have to meet with you again, really. It's not to say I don't like hanging out with you guys, but like I said, I don't want to have a meeting and take y'all's time just for fun. Do you think it'd be more functional to have like to schedule a couple of um you know bigger events and just communicate with you via email? Or what do you guys want? It's your board.
So clarify something for me. So we prioritize these by the timelines for me.
Okay.
Then also we're waiting for the state to come out with the final rules.
For
both
for
this-
both the
Both. So
wildfire
is
and
there any reason to meet before those rules come
Right.
out? That's my.
Yeah. So the
If
first
you-
first part of your question. So we're in the zone for the model low carbon code and the all electric ready code. We're in that window as of 2023 to mid 2026. Anytime we do a new code resolution, we gotta adopt at least the 2021 IECC. We're gonna do the 2024. The wildfire code, as it is now, we're supposed to have those adopted by the new year, 2026, January 1. And then the International Code Council, the I codes, as I call them, are whenever we want, with the caveat of the energy code.
So
For the state.
you have to adopt these state codes before they're finalized?
No,
Or you could?
no.
Okay.
We're
Sorry,
hopeful to
sorry.
do it all at once.
The low model, okay, back up. The state law with the the energy code state law, okay, that did a bunch of different things. It created a board. It mandated the board create a low carbon code and a model electric ready code. Okay, electric ready, meaning a home has to be pre-built so they could be converted to all electric if someone wants to later on. So it created the board, it mandated the board create those codes. It also said jurisdictions have to be on a certain energy code cycle by these dates. It's kind of twofold, right? It's
So
basically,
here,
it required that municipalities and jurisdictions have a more modern energy conservation code. Aside from that, we're gonna have to adopt these electric ready and solar ready and low carbon codes that they've created.
which we'll have to adopt their state one by July 1st of 2026. Am I reading that correct?
No, yeah, correct. So
the first part is if we change our code at all, we have to also adopt the 21 energy code at a minimum. The second date is by July of 26, we have to adopt the state code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been leaving that part out, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
That makes more sense.
yeah, so highlight that again, Lily.
Yeah.
If you all can see do just the second bullet point. So I guess that's the drop dead date
Mm-hmm.
for having everything. Well,
Yeah. So on or
Right,
after
yeah.
July 1st, 2026, counties that update a building code shall adopt and enforce an energy code that achieves equivalent or better energy performance than the model low energy and carbon code language developed by the board.
which is adopted code, because I
Yeah.
don't know how you create your own. You have to have a panel of scientists and whatever. So yeah, so there's multiple timelines,
Mhm.
but
July 1st of 26.
Unless, but if you do the 2024 in March,
Yeah.
If we do a code resolution, San Miguel County does a code resolution in March, we'll have to adopt the wildfire code, we'll have to adopt the 2021 IECC or better, 24.
Yeah.
We will also adopt the low carbon code, the state's low carbon code, the state's electric ready code, and then the 2024 codes as well. We could, the one big question, we could, as this is written, we could probably get away with extending it to the middle of next year but we gotta see what happens with this wildfire.
Yeah.
Bill that's on the floor, because if they prove that, it gives us a little more time, so we could maybe push this all out to July of next year, but we'll see. But like, so if we do a code resolution to adopt that wildfire code by law on January 1st, then we gotta do a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like this, we're gonna be,
Which will be interesting to see because as the wildfire bill is written or the law is written, everyone has to.
Mhm.
So if everyone has to adopt that, and then this says, if you change your code at all, you have to adopt these things. It has implications for every municipality and county that has a building code adopted.
Yeah, which I haven't heard any of these guys talk about this stuff. And I've asked them and I don't know where they're at. So and if you guys can't see me here, I'm
Yeah.
pointing to my jurisdictional neighbors here. I don't know what their plans are. And I've asked and I would like, I'm with you guys. I think we should have a San Miguel County Regional Building Department. That would be amazing.
Mhm.
So if July 1st to 26 appears to be
Hmm?
the deadline,
Mhm.
would it make sense to push out the 2024 adoption more towards July 1st?
Yeah, we would do it all at one time. 'Cause
Right.
Otherwise, we'd have
I don't
to.
think March is a,
No,
I think we
Yeah.
push that further out.
right. The March date is based off the current wildfire law saying we have to adopt it by next year
Well-
of the beginning.
Yeah, so February, March are in my head because it was originally this fall, right? Where I was gonna want to go with this, and that's kind of immediately getting pushed out because we're gonna be short-staffed and stuff through the summer. It's not gonna happen. We should have had this meeting. If that was gonna happen, we should have had this meeting. Like,
6 months ago.
yeah, like last Thanksgiving. So I'm already like bumping it out. I was bumping it out in my head again to like February, March. But the one thing that's kind of dragging me back is the question mark I have is that wildfire resiliency code. Because again, by law right now, we're supposed to have that adopted by January 1 of 2026. So hopefully they pass this new law, it'll kick everything out, so we'll be off the hook legally until July 1st. I am always asked like when we're gonna adopt the code because again, like people have environmental goals around here and stuff like that, the commissioners and other people. And they associate modern building code, newer building code with progress toward those goals. So but it's fine. At the end of the day, I think we have a
it'll
really
be
great board of
cleaner.
commissioners that trust us as staff to provide good information. And if they know that we're in communication with you all as the building community and stewards of everything around here, then they're gonna listen. So
Yeah, and I think it would be cleaner if this Senate Bill 25-142, which would push the wildfire code adoption date out. It'd be much cleaner for everybody to adopt new codes together at once versus a staggered approach, which would definitely throw off design of projects in the works and stuff.
So
But-
we'll play it by ear. So let's see what happens with this wildfire bill. If it passes, hopefully it will. And we'll kind of see these neither the wildfire code nor the model low energy code / electric ready code are going to be signed, and the code isn't going to be signed and approved until July 1st of this year anyway. So let's let that date come and go, and then we'll reach back out and see if you guys want to get together again.
I think back on what your question was, Matt, though, having public events and or also meeting as a board, I think in my mind would be both. I mean, I think we could use the feedback at the public events to come back as a board, or you guys come back as a board and talk about amendments and more kind of finer tuning of the code.
Yeah.
And based off things you guys are hearing in the field. I would hope to see both probably, but
That's a great idea.
my opinion.
Have that.
I'd say meet in front, get our ducks in a row,
Mhm.
how we want to present it, present, come back and meet again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
And again.
And I
again.
think I think the idea of having quarterly things, so we're touching the public, like not like where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna ignore that. It's something every week, but every couple months where it's like just a good reminder, things are coming. It's not all at once, but without being too much. And it would be great to have some folks from the code, like they had Steve Thomas come, like somebody from the code world, present and explain, especially with the IECC.
You guys sick to get Joe Stewart down here.
Yes, that would be
That
great.
dude's-
Someone who like
Have you met him?
could dismantle it in the building science way.
Yeah, he's a building scientist. He's not he makes fun of what he calls the greeny weenies like all the time. He's just into building quality buildings and he's super smart. But it'd be fun to get him down here.
Yeah.
He charges a friggin' arm and a leg though.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's got it.
We'll just take your
Whatever, Racy.
$100 from your meeting fee here and give it to him. So he's gonna be down here. Anyway, all right. Do you anything else you guys want to share? I'm all ears. Otherwise, I'll leave it up to Ken.
I think you need a raise, Matt. And how about those nuggets?
Hey, we're gonna talk about that.
That's my public comment. Other than that, I'm good.
The Nuggets rocked it last night.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Stayed up late.
Yeah. It was worth it though. Cool.
Well, I say we wait for you to come back after the July state deadline
Mhm.
and see what they come out with, set the next meeting.
Great.
Let you guys schedule that
Okay,
and coordinate it.
cool.
We'll go from there.
Perfect.
Anything else, guys? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Go ahead, Frank. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys. Yeah.
Thanks, Lily.
Mhm.
I learned.